Everyone's awake. Okay.
Are you ready now? What day is it, people? Hey, everybody. My name is Douglas Welton, and I am the chairman of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Planning Commission. I'd like to welcome you to our March 11th, 2024 Planning Commission work session. Planning Commission work session is being held here at the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Government Center. We're located at 600 East 4th Street. We're upstairs in room 267. For the public and the media, today's meeting is being streamed live on the Planning, Design, and Development Department's YouTube page. And glad to have you here. We're always excited to have people watching us online, and we hopefully we're spreading information that you want to hear. We're going to begin by getting introductions from the commissioners. I'm going to go all the way to my left and begin with Commissioner Russell.
Will Russell, Planning Commission.
Melissa Gaston, Planning Commission.
Andrew Blumenthal, Planning Commission.
Teresa McDonald, Planning Commission.
Shauna Neely, Planning Commission.
Rebecca Wilden, Planning Commission.
Rick Winokur, Planning Commission.
Tara Nasto, Planning Commission.
Robin Stewart, Planning Commission.
Thank you very much. And we're going to go all the way to the left again and introduce staff.
Allison Craig, Planning Director.
Monica Holmes, Deputy Planning Director.
Candace Roy, Planning Staff.
Al Knight, Planning Staff.
Yolanda Jones, Planning Staff.
Thank you very much. And we have some other staff in the room, but we'll give you guys the opportunity to introduce yourself a little bit later on. Before we get started on things today, I would like to say a hearty welcome back to Candace Rory, who is our staff support. And Candace has been away for 3 months, has a newborn. He's a wonderful name. It's very similar to mine. And we're all very excited about that. We'd also like to extend a heartfelt thanks to Yolanda Jones, who has filled in for Candace while she was gone. I think that Yolanda said to me, this is the easiest thing I've ever done. And you guys, I'd like to continue doing this forever and ever. But I could have misinterpreted what she said. Thank you very much. Also, I've got a couple of folks in the audience today that are joining us here that I wanted to introduce. And the first is Asher Queen. Asher dropped me an email, and he basically wanted to find out. And there's Asher over there. Asher's got, raise your hand, Asher. Asher wanted to find out some more about what the Planning Commission does, what there are possibilities for urban planning and things of that nature. So I said, hey, come on to one of our meetings and see what we do. And so I'd like to ask all the commissioners, if you could afterwards, please go up and say hi to Asher and staff as well, just because one of the things I believe that's important for us is to just help the river continue flowing by passing the knowledge along. So I'm excited to have Asher here. Also, I've been roaming around getting folks, plotting to get folks to be on the commission in the future. And Blake Hammond falls into that category. Blake, can you give us a hand? I spoke to the Charlotte Civic Leadership Academy doodah thingamabob. That would be my mother coming through there. That was last October-ish. And Blake, along with probably about a dozen other people, got an email from me to come by today. And many people could, many people couldn't. Said, can I come next month? What other meeting? Blah, blah, blah. But Blake is here today. And so he gets an A for the day. And I'm excited to have him. Again, I asked the commissioners to say hi to Blake before he gets out of here and things of that nature. And if you know someone who is interested in being on the Planning Commission, the city now has their on the advisory page website, doodah thingamabob, right? You can apply. And so I wish that if you had that interest to please apply. If you have questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me as well. All right, Commissioner Lansdale.
And just a reminder, once you apply, your application is good for a full year for
Okay.
2 years.
Okay.
So you can apply early and then wait for your opportunity if there's no opening right now.
The opening is closed on March 30th. Candace, do we have some?
Also wanted to add to, I don't know if you mentioned, the county and the city have two separate application
The
processes.
county and the city have two separate
separate
application processes. And it's because the combined government has been an excellent example of something. And so, yeah, if you apply for the city, does not get you in the kitty for a county seat. So please be sure to make sure you look at both the city and the county's advisory board listings and apply appropriately. So that's for the general public in general. Gosh, it's great to have you back, Candace. Otherwise, that just would have fallen right off the table and into the gutter. Now, next item on the agenda is our minutes from our February 12th meeting. Thank you, Elle. It's good to have you here. You're my favorite. Our minutes for our February 12th meeting and miscellaneous other meetings. Do I hear a motion for the disposition of our February 12th meeting minutes?
This is Commissioner Gaston. I make a motion to approve the February 12th work session meeting minutes.
Blumenthal, second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Gaston and properly seconded by Commissioner Blumenthal. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously, and life is all good there. We have another guest who just snuck in the back, and that is Mr. Dion Smith. And what I'd like to say about Dion is he's in the industry, real estate industry. We had a great conversation, and you guys know I go out and talk to folks in the public. And I encourage all of you commissioners to go out, talk to folks, find a way to understand what the public is all about and get that information back to us and get it going both ways. Because my new nut is that if you don't talk about things, you can never get a resolution of them to a higher level of goodness. Just use that as a quote for the rest of your day. Anyway, thank you very much on that. I'm glad to have you here, Dion. And Commissioner Harvey has joined us. So we're almost at full strength. All right, our business today, we've got three parts to our program, and we've invited two extra special guests from the outside. South Park Community Partners is here, and also University City Partners is here, and they're going to both give us a presentation about what they do in their particular municipal service districts. And Planning Host Computer is here. We're going to begin with South Park Community Partners. Adam Rue is, Adam, what's your title? Are you executive director? Oh, okay. God Almighty. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Does all of that even fit on a card? You know, I went out and visited Adam in November along with the rest of the staff, Maddie and Lizzie, and I think that there is wonderful energy that's going on in South Park Community Partners, and so I'm excited to have Adam. Are you doing the presentation, ladies? Are you going to join, or are you just sitting in the back and chilling? Okay. And then soon, Planning Host Computer will be ready. I don't know, any of you commissioners know like a line dance we can get everybody to do while we're waiting?
No, but Carolina beat Duke. It's a great day.
Let's see, Carolina beat Duke, so I would assume that would mean you did not go to Duke. No? And we're talking about North Carolina, not South Carolina, right?
Yes.
You know, because I was born in South Carolina. You just go 10 miles down the road and Carolina does not mean the same thing. I'm saying. Was there a fight at the end of your game like the ladies' game yesterday? Am I throwing them under the bus? Have I vamped enough yet?
That's been great. And, you know, any chance that we have to talk about the Tar Heels beating Duke is a good opportunity. So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit about the work that our team is doing in South Park. Really excited to share with you some of the things that we care about and that we're focusing on in the South Park Municipal Service District. First, wanted to just say thank you to staff. We enjoy a tremendous relationship with Allison and Monica and team, and we're just so grateful for the partnership that we enjoy with the entire team here at the city, and are grateful to be linking arms and working together for a shared vision. So thank you. Monica and I were on the phone just this morning about something, in fact. So really appreciate the relationship we have there. Our team, you referenced it, Mr. Chairman. It's just 3 of us. Lizzie Sirkin is our VP of Partnerships. Maddie Chase is our Director of Marketing and Experience. We're a small but mighty team, and we get the privilege of waking up every day thinking about how do we make South Park even more extraordinary than it is today. Just to orient you, this is a map of the Municipal Service District in blue. Our organization was created a little less than 2 years ago. As you'll recall, City Council approved the creation of the South Park MSD in the spring of 2022. We were officially established the summer of that year, and the MSD comprises 1 square mile of South Park, so a relatively compact district with South Park Mall kind of at the center of the universe geographically. Our program of work in South Park is about, our team is really focused on creating dynamic places and vibrant communities. And we work really hard to build both relationships and partnerships with our stakeholders, and then represent those interests as we think about the future vibrancy of South Park. As many of you all know, South Park has long been one of Charlotte's most desirable neighborhoods, going all the way back to the days where people chose to live in what was then known as the Sharon community of Charlotte, because it was further away from the railroads and offered a quieter place to raise your family. Of course, it wasn't all that long ago that this area was all pasture land full of dairy cows instead of people. And then with the opening of South Park Mall in 1970, South Park really grew into what it is today, which is the premier shopping district between Washington and Atlanta, and a hub for jobs and economic growth. Thanks to the visionary leadership and particularly the private sector investment in South Park, it's a great community today, and the market continues to see opportunities in South Park with $1 billion of development in the pipeline. So let me just give you kind of a quick orientation to some of the things that we see as South Park's strengths. It really is this urban district nestled in a suburban area. It's on this path of evolving from what has historically been a suburban context to something that is more urban, more dense, more walkable in the commercial core that we serve. We continue to see residential density grow as multifamily comes online within the MSD. And we think South Park is really well positioned to adapt to the changing work patterns that we're seeing across the country, and certainly here in Charlotte, as companies and talent increasingly prefer places where work and life can intersect. And you see that in our office vacancy rate. And we see that in the strength of our workforce hub. 4 Fortune 1000 headquarters, a really strong employment base that comes from all across Mecklenburg County. Half of our workers live more than 7 miles away from the MSD. And we think that South Park offers a really compelling option for companies. And what we want as a community when we think about economic development is a deep bench of places that companies and talent can choose from. And we think South Park is part of that mix as a center for jobs and commerce. And we can't talk about South Park if we don't talk about retail. As I mentioned, really one of the premier shopping destinations on the East Coast, certainly the best retail center in the state of North Carolina, with a really strong vacancy rate and an interesting mix of brands, both national and global brands, that have sought to put their only location in Charlotte, many of them their only location in the Carolinas there, but also a really healthy mix of small businesses. These are places like Jesse Brown's Outdoors and Capital that employ just a handful of people, but have become fixtures of our community and in a really important way for entrepreneurs to thrive in Charlotte. But we can't rely on all of that past success, right? We've got work to do as a community to ensure that South Park remains competitive, that it remains vibrant, that it remains and lives up to its potential as an economic engine for our entire region, which is why our team has been working to develop the South Park 2035 vision plan. It's a blueprint, as you all know, to guide future growth and investment. And that vision that we've heard from the community is for a walkable, energetic community where people connect and businesses thrive. At its core, this plan is a plan for a cohesive South Park. We've spent almost a year on this plan, and here are some of the key themes that we've heard. It's been really interesting, the very tight alignment in priorities from all of our stakeholders, residents and businesses, a group of high schoolers and our seniors. They all have told us these things are most important. A lot about walkability, both within the MSD, so between and among destinations within the commercial core, but also between the heart of South Park and our adjacent neighborhoods, from South Park to our greenway and trail system. Active parks, plazas, and open space, a real desire for people to not only have more public space, but to highly program it. There's a lot of passion in our community around this idea of a park once environment, about opening up new mobility opportunities and to give people a chance to think differently about how they move around South Park. And then this is table stakes in many cases, a beautiful, safe, and welcoming destination. So the vision plan is our blueprint to guide us as a community and as a district to 2035. But our organization, new as it may be, has already been working hard to try to chip away at some of those things we've heard from the community. And it starts with walkability. We are working alongside our partners at the city to advance the vision for the Loop, which is a 3-mile urban trail to connect and create great places in South Park. This is a segment that is complete on Carnegie Boulevard at the corner of Carnegie and Sharon. This is one of the pieces of that puzzle that are finished. We continue to work at the entire vision for the Loop. It's about 8% built today. We've got another 17% that's either in various stages of commitment in progress. And we've got this great partnership between city staff, the South Park Association of Neighborhoods, and the private sector to accelerate the first contiguous mile of the Loop, to create new amenities along it that enhance the South Park experience and drive quality of life for our residents, workers, and visitors. One of the ways we're doing that is through programming. This was some programming we did on the Loop alignment last summer. We want to bring people together to activate public space and create experiences that create community. Last year, we launched South Park After 5, which was a free concert series at Symphony Park designed to do just that, to bring people together, to activate public space, and to create relationships, which we heard over and over from our stakeholders was something that was really important. That concert series, we're really pleased, in its first year drew 25,000 people across 11 concerts. And we're excited to bring that back this year, starting with the spring season, which kicks off on April the 18th and will continue for 6 consecutive Thursdays this spring, with a fall season coming after Labor Day. We're also working to empower new ways of getting around. In December, as part of our Holiday Hop programming, we did a little bit of a pilot program of microtransit service. This is a free shuttle that we ran for 1 week in South Park to give people a different way of moving around. And our stakeholders were resounding in their enthusiasm for new mobility options in South Park. I think there's a real desire to think differently about getting around South Park, partly as we think about those intra-district trips that are longer than they need to be, because we've historically developed South Park as this collection of pods. We've got huge blocks, 1,000 to 2,000 foot long blocks. And so you end up pushing trips out to the major roads in a way that is unnecessary if you're moving around in a different way. So we're excited to learn more about what our stakeholders want and respond to those needs as we think about mobility options. So it's no accident that I just walked you through 3 examples about places, connections, and mobility. Those 3 themes are going to comprise the core themes of our vision plan. We are really excited to unveil the full plan to the community on April the 16th, and each of you will be receiving an invite to attend the launch of that plan with us, and we hope you can be there to be a part of that. The plan will have dozens of recommended projects and programs that both the public, private sector, and public-private partnerships can execute between now and 2035. And we're eager to be able to both launch the plan and also hold up our hand and say that we're accountable for implementation, that we're going to lead this plan and that it's not something that's going to sit on the shelf. We heard that loud and clear from our stakeholders as we met with them over the course of the last year. We're eager for you to stay connected with us. The QR code will take you to our South Park Snapshot. It's our economic development toolkit, full of data and insights about South Park, including some of the numbers that I rattled off to you today. And then Maddie does an incredible job on our social media, which you can follow at the handles on your screen to understand the day-to-day South Park experience, to see behind the scenes of South Park After 5 and some of the work that we're trying to do to create community and activate open space in particular as we think about the way that we serve our mission. We're really excited about sharing the vision plan with the community and hope that each of you will see something that inspires you to be more connected to South Park as we work together to steward this vibrant place into a new decade. And I'm with that, very happy to take your questions and am grateful for the opportunity to share just a little bit about our work.
Thank you, Adam. Great presentation. I'm a big fan of what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Commissioners, we got any questions, hints, suggestions, threats? I got Commissioner Russell over. You can skip the last part, I guess.
Hey, Adam, thank you for presenting. So one of the things you mentioned in your presentation is that South Park is undergoing an evolution from suburban to urban. And we all know that in that city, that's a very tough sell. And there are a lot of conflicts that come with that. So how welcoming are you, or what are you doing to develop a development type that goes from suburban to primarily urban to fit that vision?
Yeah, well, if you look at the area we serve within the MSD, Commissioner, it's a really tight geography. And so what that means, if you were to look at an aerial, and in fact, if you see if I can top back to the MSD map, you can even see here how quickly the district steps down to the single family residential neighborhoods that abut the MSD, which I think from our perspective means we've got to be really thoughtful about the edges of the district. So as projects are announced and as they're planned for South Park, thinking about those that meet the edge of the MSD and then step down into those single family residential neighborhoods requires really thoughtful transitions. And I think that's the area where we're looking to the private sector to be sensitive to the needs of our adjacent neighborhoods. That said, within the commercial core, within the district that we serve, we see a real opportunity moving forward to continue to add density, particularly residential density within the commercial core of South Park. We believe the place can support it. And we think, and what we hear from our stakeholders is a real desire to add that density, and that starts to create the walkable, vibrant, energetic, street level life that we believe our commercial stakeholders are asking for.
Commissioner Seeley.
So in a previous presentation that we had at this body here, I couldn't help but notice that this district was one of the lowest as far as building permits goes. I think District 5 and 6 both had very little. Why do you think that is, and how do we encourage people to come into this area and help densify it? Like I look at the corner of Cameron Valley and Fairview, and I know all those tiny little offices right there are definitely not the highest and best use. Like, how do we spur the kind of development that we could actually see around South Park? And also, how do we spur a reimagining of South Park? Obviously, South Park has bucked the trend that most regional malls have, and is quite healthy. I think one of the top sales per square foot in the Southeast. But how do we encourage people to better imagine what that land use looks like?
Yeah, great question, Commissioner. On the first part, I think part of it's the vision plan, and that's the reason that we undertook this exercise, was to be able to help imagine and envision a future South Park that is different, that does begin to densify. And it starts with being able to get everybody on the same page and aligned around a common vision. And I think we've been really intentional over the last 2 years, and particularly in the last 9 months as we've led the creation of this plan, to spend time with our stakeholders, both within the MSD and around it, to start to do that. So that's the first step. And then I think the plan will begin to show and create opportunity for future investment in South Park. Certainly, if we could get some of the macroeconomic uncertainty to shake out, that would be helpful, because what we continue to hear from our partners in the development community is that South Park, the fundamentals are really strong, and it's a place that many of them continue to plan and see future investment. So I think it's coming, and it's our job to make sure that we steward it and align it to the vision that's going to be articulated in the plan. On the second piece, I do want to just say that the health and vibrancy of South Park Mall in particular is very important to our community. If we look at the trend over the last 3 decades of shopping malls in the United States, we've gone from 2,500 in the 80s to 700 some odd today. And depending on whose projections you look at, the number of sort of large malls like that will exist by 2035 will be much, much fewer than 700. And so South Park Mall may be it for our community. And what that means is that we need to be really thoughtful about how the mall connects to the greater community, how we continue to foster an evolution in both that site and the retail that surrounds it, so that it is much more experiential, that it serves a wide variety of audiences, and that we as a community continue to invest in the South Park submarket so that it continues to thrive and be healthy. What we don't want certainly is for it to be disinvested and see some of the challenges that we've seen in other malls across the country over the last decade. So that's a really important piece of this plan. And I think you'll see some of the recommended projects and programs really intend to think about how the public realm, parks, open space, the loop, all of that starts to enhance the cohesive South Park experience, to try to make sure that we're being mindful of that moving forward.
Thank you.
Got 2. We'll take Commissioner Stewart first, followed by Commissioner Lansdale.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Super interesting. I wanted to know how you think about the sort of east-west inter-district traffic on Fairview.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not, what you would intend to have in your district, but it's one of the only ways to get from east to west in Charlotte. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, it certainly, if you're a pedestrian and you're walking along Fairview, or if you're like me and you cross Fairview on your running route, it can be scary to come across that large thoroughfare. To your point, it is an important east-west connector in our community, and we certainly recognize its value, which is, I think, part of the reason we're looking for both ways to complete the grid in South Park through future redevelopment. So are there ways to pull some intra-district travel off of Fairview? The example I always give is for a period of time when we first started, our office was at the corner of Fairview and Barclay Downs. And from my window, I could watch people drive out of a parking deck or out of an office parking lot, drive across the street to the bank, go into the bank, do a little business, get back in their car, and drive back across the street. And so to the extent that we're able to mitigate some of that intra-district car travel, or push it throughout the street network through other means, we think there is an opportunity to maybe start to eat away at some of the pain that might be felt on Fairview. But we also appreciate that it's an important connector and will continue to be so. And that's why I think that mobility evolution that you're going to see in the vision plan is going to be so important to sort of the whole of South Park and not just Fairview.
Commissioner Lansdale.
I'll do my best here to be kind, but we could box the compass with the comments that were just described, specifically for Fairview Road, and we as zoning commissioners have to make difficult calls and have challenges with staff. In one particular location on Fairview, we moved a crosswalk further away from a subsidized housing location full of people in need, hundreds, thousands of people more in need than the 14 units that were approved to go in. What I want to talk a little bit about is you are a municipal service district under the state guidelines for municipal service districts. What I would like to see you do as president and CEO,
Yes, sir.
sorry, yeah, is to stop the notion that it's scary and unsafe to cross roads like Fairview or Sharon, and make sure we prioritize our pedestrian safety. Per state law, you have a responsibility to improve pedestrian safety. Prioritizing signalization, improving crosswalks at intersections, especially within the confines of South Park Mall, especially within the direct interface between South Park Mall and the community, are critical aspects and should be the priority of your expenditures, especially your early expenditures as a municipal service district. We see not only anecdotally, but specifically that the prioritization process at the signalization for these major intersections do not give way to pedestrian crossings. They must wait the full circle, if not more, before they're able to cross. So understanding the impact of how you prioritize your funding, especially in the beginning, should yield better outcomes for long-term benefit as you invest in larger infrastructures like the loop trail, et cetera. It's critical that as a municipal service district, that is your original content and you satisfy the state rules associated with improving pedestrian safety and active mobility safety. It's not your fault to kind of come into this place. We have to make these decisions every day. And it was an interesting slide for your 2035 vision slide. Another failure and interest that we would want to see as your municipal service district leadership is to not have your multi-use buildings require service directly from a public right-of-way. So every morning when I ride my bike past the breakfast place there, I have to deal with food trucks blocking the outside lane. How inviting is that for South Park community partners to not provide a safe, active mobility corridor through the district, along our roadways and within our service area for our multi-use buildings? So a lot to unpack there, but I really would like to see you as a new municipal service district prioritize your safety improvements for active mobility. Thank you.
Thanks for the comments, Commissioner. I would just point out that it is very intentional that the vision statement for the 2035 vision plan leads with the word walkable, and that the inclusion of that in that statement reflects the priorities of this organization and our stakeholders.
Thank you, Commissioner Lansdale. And Adam, Adam. I think I've introduced you guys on an email once. Commissioner Blumenthal.
Adam, again, thank you for the presentation. To piggyback a little bit actually on Commissioner Russell at the beginning, I think speaking for a number of us around this dais, right, we largely agree with you that we need more density, that it can be stepped down towards the single family neighborhoods around the outside. My question is, how engaged are you with the neighborhood associations with those single family neighborhoods? I would imagine pretty connected.
Yeah, we have a great relationship with SPAN, the South Park Association of Neighborhoods. Hillary, who many of you know quite well, has been a tremendous partner. SPAN has a permanent seat on our board of directors. And we really do view that relationship as very positive and symbiotic. Clearly, by state statute, our focus has to be on the stakeholders within the boundaries of the municipal service district. But we really feel an obligation to engage more fully with the stakeholders who live in the surrounding residential areas. And so we've got a great partnership with SPAN, continue to work with them both on issues within the MSD and those just outside of it.
And that's great to hear. I think where I'm going with this is the house I grew up in is on that map that's on the screen right now. So very intimately familiar with that entire area. And while those of us in this room kind of share a consensus about how we think that growth and development should happen, sometimes when those rezoning petitions come up, those same neighbors aren't necessarily on the same page as we are. And so again, as planning commissioners, I kind of view all 14 of us as advocates for the community as well, right? To kind of help go out and preach the message of the comprehensive plan and what that is intended to accomplish. And so this is actually an ask, more of a question. But I'm sure that you are plugged in. You see the rezoning petitions come through probably not long after we do, right? And so my ask would be, knowing how we would like to see this, and at least your MSD specifically, how you would like to see it grow and develop as we go through, let's call it the growing pains that are associated with the urbanization of an area, to help be an advocate and work with us to educate people that it's not like this isn't going to be South End, right? That's not what we're trying to accomplish. But what we're trying to do is accomplish those three goals that you mentioned. It was walkability, connectivity. I don't want to, butcher it by any means, but again, that's what our intention is. And if you want to live next to that, there's a compromise that needs to come from that. And so again, more of an ask to work with us as advocates in the community, because you're more plugged in this specific area than any of us are.
That's great. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Andrew took my question kind of, and yeah, and I was going to say exactly that. And Adam is a member of the UDO Advisory Committee, so we do get your feedback through there. But one of the things I do see is, and I talked to the folks out at SPAN, and there are concerns about the edges, and you've made that obvious to us. I would love this to be denser than you could possibly imagine, but how do we get there? And I think it would be hopefully you've got a good relationship with staff, but if there's anything that this commission can do to help people understand the necessity for density and the policies that we're trying to implement here, in particular with zonings, and how those edges work, then please feel free to make us part of that conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would just say in closing that we're going to be looking to you and to members of the City Council to embrace the vision that's articulated in the vision plan. And as projects come before you and before council, aligning the interests of those projects with the interests of the goals and the vision articulated in the plan is going to be really important for South Park's future.
Cool beans.
Thanks for
Glad
the
to have you
opportunity.
here, Adam. Thanks. Wonderful presentation. Applause, everyone. All right, so we go now from the south side of town to the north side of town. Keith, it's time for us to. Keith, do you have a long title too? Yes, I do. What would your title be? President and CEO. Wow! I'm going to get that put on my card too. I went up to meet Keith Stanley in November. At University City Partners up there. Is it J something? JM Keynes? JM Keynes. It's up yonder by the pond thing, right? And that's, again, I'm channeling my mother all the way today by the pond thing. But they've got a lot of interesting things going on in the University City area. I know we have commissioners here that are up that way, and they dabble and keep their hands busy. And there's lots and lots of opportunity for things to go forward there. And as soon as we get this slide presentation going, then I can stop talking about it or something like that. Anybody do anything fun this weekend, by the way? Well, who was the concert?
Olivia Rodrigo. It was wonderful. I only knew like 5 songs, but my friend got tickets, so I had to go.
I'm excited for you. It's really not coming across that way, is it? Okay. Commissioner Winokur, did you do anything fun? Oh, we're ready. Later, Commissioner Winokur. I got you. Our next guest on our program today is the president and CEO of University City Partners, Keith Stanley. And Keith, you are going to give us a wonderful presentation about your municipal district. I could be running for president. I talk so well.
I want to attend these planning commissions all the time, and I'm having a great time here.
We want you here.
As the commissioner mentioned, I'm Keith Stanley, president and CEO of University City Partners. Glad to be here. Glad to get the invite to share what we're doing in North Charlotte. And also, I want to echo Adam's sentiments about the city and the planning commission and the planning folks behind the planning staff. You guys have been amazing. We really appreciate that. A number of opportunities to work with Allison and her team, and Monica, and I just really appreciate that. We're going to hop right on in. Quickly, want to talk about University City itself, talk about the organization, and talk about some of the economic development and also the arts and culture around our beautiful, beautiful lake. We all know about University City, many of us. We have UNC Charlotte, go Niners. We have the Blue Line extension, but we're also behind Uptown, the largest business center in the city. And I think that's really talks about speaks to the assets we have in University City, specifically University Research Park, and all the wonderful assets we have throughout University City, including our 30 miles of Greenway, and just the many diverse businesses we have. A little market profile about University City. We're young and diverse, and you see those numbers up there. I think it speaks to not just the college, but the accessible and affordable housing we still have in University City as being one of the few places in Charlotte where you really can still get into the market, but also the growth in our diversity and the institution, UNC Charlotte itself, and what we see as far as the growth in UNC Charlotte, specifically when it comes to research. University City Partners is 3 organizations in one. We're the MSD number 5, but we're also University City Foundation, our 501c3. Allows us to do a lot of work within the community, accept grants, but also give out grants. And also we manage University Research Park. This is the team. They say when you want to get some things done, surround yourself with smart people. I brought Drew along with me, so if there's a question I can't answer, I will point over to Drew to answer that. But we have a strong 4 mighty team, myself, Janelle for Director of Operations, Drew, Economic Development and Planning, and then Janet Godfrey, who handles our community engagement and strategic partnerships. What's our vision? We want to be urban. We're going to lean into that. We want to be diverse. We want to be walkable. We want to be connectable. And that's important for as we see the growth, Commissioner, as you mentioned earlier, about leaning into this urban and dense area. We know that housing is key, and we want to continue to develop housing and retail around that density and urbanization. And the way we do that is those 4 key areas right there: the economic development, planning and development, economic development, marketing, and communications. That is our way to get to where we need to be regarding economic development and diversity and density within University City. We have our vision plan 2021. A number of our constituencies got together to help develop this plan. Our residents, businesses, our homeowners, renters, a number of people had a voice into this, including some of our major stakeholders like Atrium, UNC Charlotte, Wells Fargo. And these are the 4 key areas that come out of that. The transit-oriented development, we have a slide for that you'll see in the next few minutes. Mobility, the green belts, and character and culture. And you'll see within this slides presentation a focus on character and culture. We understand the growth in University City and the importance of it, but we want to begin to bring it together. We want people to begin to rub elbows, have a good time, enjoy the lake, enjoy the food, enjoy the culture we have in University City. What some people may not know about University City, we have a hotel and conference or tourism submarket, over 30 properties, hotels with University City, over 6,000 beds. And it continues to grow. And so you'll see within University City, we have hosted a number of different conferences. We had the famous Toastery Bowl earlier this year. We see the value that we bring to the city of Charlotte with being a sub-market for hotel and conference tourism. We'll do a quick lightning round here to talk about some of our big projects. We're excited about the I-94 North Bridge, a little bit under $30 million, help us to connect University Research Park to UNC Charlotte, but also to the rest of University City. This is key because not only does it will allow traffic to flow through, we also have a pedestrian design tool, which is key for us, once again, with the connectivity and mobility within University City. Excited about the library coming online. We expect to see that in Q2, Q3 of next year. library is a major asset. Out of the 21 libraries we have in the system, I believe this is the second or third busiest. That's important for us as we bring it close to the lake and activate the lake. Still excited about the announcement about Wells Fargo and the CIC campus. This shows a commitment to getting people back to work. University City has approximately 100,000 people that work in University City. A large portion of that is within University Research Park. And we see that value of having people back in the office and spending dollars within our community. I mentioned about the Blue Line extension. It is a value add. The predecessors, those who came before me and those who voted to make that $1 billion investment, we're seeing the impact of what that Blue Line extension is, connecting not just University City throughout to the rest of the city, but also the economic development we see, the housing, the residential, the retail aspect of it. And that's important for University City. Lake activation is important for us. As I mentioned earlier about the culture and connecting the community. We have a number of different events, have 7 signature events that we have here, our Wines Fest, Farmers Market, Charlotte Kids Fest, New Year's Day 5K, UCD Lights Winter Celebration. This is once again getting people out and about, connecting. We just don't want you to come here and work or come here and get education. We want you to come here and enjoy yourself. We recently had UCD Lights and got a couple thousand people to celebrate the holiday tree lighting ceremony and just had a great time. And this is really reflective of what I see a priority for University City Partners to do, is to create a platform for communities to come together. We talked a little bit about the development around the boardwalk itself. I mentioned about the library. We know there's investments being made at the Hilton, and the Nava opened up last year, over 400 residential units. We see and want to lean into this, and as Commissioner, you mentioned earlier about, once again, going to density. We see the value increasing density around the lake and throughout University City. And so for us, we're going to continue to work with the Planning Commissioning, work with our city leaders to make sure that we are embracing that diversity, and you'll see that along the boardwalk. A couple of things about arts and culture. First, I had a sneak a picture of me in there. We're excited to have the installation of some artwork along the lake that's really highlighting the coming of the library. We're hoping to see that done this year. We also want to say we lean in closely with UNC Charlotte. UNC Charlotte is an amazing asset for the city of Charlotte, and we see the value that it brings. And so we're doing more collaboration with them, more partnership with them. And that even includes working with our students. And so we were able to help host a number of students, not through just internships, but also through other programming in University City. Excited to announce, it's coming out in our email tomorrow and press, we have our small business initiative. Working with the city of Charlotte, working with the city manager, working with Councilmember Johnson, we were able to receive a $237,000 grant, allowing us to impact our small businesses. We estimate over 1,300 small businesses in University City. We're going to support not all of them. We can't do that with that type of money, but what we can do is provide some services, marketing, graphic design, activation for our businesses. And so we're pretty excited about being able to lean into that. We're going to be doing more of that because we see the value in developing those relationships with our businesses, so they see us as a resource within University City. I think I'm wrapping it up here. I would just say, encourage you to, if you can, if you're interested, definitely sign up for not just our general newsletter, but our commercial real estate newsletter. We try to stay on top of what's happening in University City, not just for our events, but also what's happening with our development. With that said, that wraps it up.
Thank you, Keith. Just as I take the bite, right? Do we have some questions from folks? Yay, nay? If not, I got some. Tell me a little bit more about the library project. Where is it going to be?
It's going to be right, and I want to say to the north of the Hilton. So I'm snug in between where the Hilton is currently located and where the Novels are currently located. In between there's a space. I'm not for sure what it was formally. Somebody may have that answer, but it'd be right there in between.
So they're reusing a space or redeveloping a space that's currently existing.
Correct.
Structure. Okay, that's cool. Density, one of these things. I know that earlier we approved a project that is a bunch of apartments. It's on, where was that project we did? No, the one that's right at Tryon at the University City. I can't remember what.
We do like 30 a night.
Anyway, it's right next to the rail stop. Yeah. You've got some surface parking lots up there. Are you guys trying to encourage people to turn those surface parking lots into something that isn't a surface parking lot? I guess. Okay.
Commissioner, I would say that 2 points to that. First, I want to talk a little bit, focus that to University Research Park.
Okay.
For us to figure out, we know University Research Park is an asset, 2,200 acres, 11 million square feet of office space. There's a lot of surface parking. Our goal is to continue to work with our community stakeholders to really turn some of this surface parking that really someone was overbuilt and turn it into something actually an asset for the community, specifically when it comes to housing. Outside of University Research Park, yes, we would definitely support turning some of this surface parking lot into other opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And last question I got while everybody else is thinking up their questions. That's what I do here is I vamp a lot. In terms of large parks, I had a discussion with somebody about large parks in the area and what's the Freedom Park of University City?
Yeah.
I guess is is the question I would ask. And I'll ask from a point of ignorance because I don't know, not necessarily my part of town, so I don't know everything that's up there. But what's the Freedom Park of University City? And if there isn't one, is there a plan to get one?
Well, I would say this. I'm not as familiar with Freedom Park. I've been here for about 12, 14 months. But I will say, if this is the direction, Commissioner, you're going in, we have talked about this, and Commissioner Russell may have some insights on this too, that as the MSD itself is 7.9 square miles. The university's trade area could be 12 or 14 square miles. We don't have a park. We have Greenway, but we don't have a park. And to have close to 150,000 people within University City trade area, and we don't have a park, we want to figure out how we can advocate for that, and how do we work with the county to figure out what does that look like. Don't get me wrong, we love the 30 plus miles of Greenway within University City. We like the 14 plus miles of Greenway in University Research Park itself. But that's been a concern. I've heard a lot of residents talk about that. A lot of residents concerned on where do we go for green space. I don't know, Commissioner Russell, if you had anything to add to that.
Yeah, so the closest park to that MSD is Mallard Creek Regional, which is about 5 miles to the north of University City. So there isn't a park proper. And I think that's something that is sorely needed in that area.
Thanks, sir. Commissioner McDonald.
I just wanted to add on the park, the county has acquired some 60 acres off IBM Drive. I don't know. That's a lot closer than Mallard Creek.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to look at as a potential Freedom Park. And then my question was going to be about the Centene site, if you have an update on that.
We haven't heard much of anything yet from our sources about Centene. I will add though that we want to see that building occupied. I think it impacts not only just the economic development of University City, but also it shows we have some really high vacancy rates that's really not, I think that doesn't really reflect what we have in University City. And having 750,000 square feet of office space that's unoccupied really impacts our narrative about business in University City. So we're hoping and working with, we've had several conversations, if there's updates and information we can provide, but we would love to see something coming through for the Centene building. So we're crossing our fingers on that one.
Commissioner Lansdale.
Not gonna let you off the hook. Treated them bad, I'm gonna treat you bad.
No, come on, bring it on.
Just kidding. You to use your words, you said this is University City is still has the most affordable entry level homes in the city, a place where you can get into home ownership there with you in your area. You also said that you had the second largest office destination, but as a University City partner, somebody's walking, riding, using transit, and the University City area is one of the highest death and serious injury zones in Mecklenburg County when you're not in a vehicle. And when you're in a vehicle, it's not much better there as well. Again, as a municipal service district, I really would like to see either a shift or an equal focus per state law to use your investments, your grant writing opportunities, and the partnership with CDOT to prioritize active mobility in your municipal service district. Your municipal service district should be the place where nobody dies, not where people die trying to cross the street to get from their home to their work or to the school or to the transit place. That's just a hard lesson we have to learn from municipal service districts. It's a sore spot for me because it is a state-driven mandate that we create these tax infrastructure units, and we're not spending the tax dollars correctly to save people's lives. It is about a different focus. We want to make sure University City Partners and the 5 other MSDs are beholden to the mandate to save people's lives through infrastructure improvement. So thank you very much for being here.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's a challenge.
Yep.
That's all it is just a challenge to kind of do better. So thanks very much.
Commissioner Seeley.
So one thing that I saw in this presentation that I didn't really see here is micromobility. And I know that micromobility is a priority of University City Partners. At least I've read that in Charlotte Ledger. To piggyback on what Commissioner Lansdale said, I'd love to know more about what y'all plan for micromobility, but also for stewarding things like last mile, which would be really beneficial, I think, in University City. When you pick up CRVA's City Guide, they talk about walkable neighborhoods in Charlotte, and they include University City on there. But when you get off at any light rail stop in University City, your trip has just now begun. So I would love to hear more about that.
I would say there was a slide that I actually took out of this presentation that talks a little bit of micromobility. We were working closely with CDOT to have basically a rideshare program. Our goal was to release it this year. Working with CDOT, we're gonna have to push it back into beginning of next year. This has been addressed throughout, I would say, most of our 20 years as an organization, and how do we that last mile connectivity. Of course, we're going to lean in, as Commissioner mentioned, some of the walkability, this crosswalks and things of that nature. But that last mile is a challenge for us. And I know as a University City resident, when you get off the station there, you got to figure out you're pretty much on your own, like you said. I think that's going to be a challenge. Quite frankly, I think University City is in a phase now where we are dealing with the urban/suburban struggle and getting not just our constituency, but getting our patrons and others to understand when you come here, we want to embrace that urbanization. That's going to take a little work. But we're going to be closely working with our partners, specifically CDOT, to figure out how do we address that last mile. I wish I could have kept that slide in here, but it just, we had to push it back for CDOT.
Thank you. I do just want to also add, I think a big part of that will be the parking lots that we talked about, and making sure that the amenities that are in University City are not 4/10 of a mile across a poorly shaded parking lot. So, but I think you are fully aware of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Keith, thank you for your presentation. I know we've had quite a few conversations, but I just want to kind of have you illuminate the commission here on your struggle. As you know, University City is pretty much inundated with state control roads, which makes any real changes almost next to impossible without more funding or more political power. So to that thought, what are kind of your ideas, or what are you doing to approach state NCDOT to kind of help ameliorate some of the issues that you have with state-owned roads in the MSD? Commissioner,
great question. I am learning about our friends at NCDOT and how we work with them. We are slowly really beginning to develop that relationship with NCDOT, just new faces and that nature. They've been open. We've had several meetings with them. I think we, as an organization, as MSD, we're going to have to really articulate some of those challenges to them so they can clearly understand it. A couple of things I would say, 29 and 49 is a challenge for us. As you mentioned, it being state-owned, we have increased our budget dollars just to clean it up and maintain it in many aspects. At the same time, we have 30,000 students and staff and faculty who wouldn't mind going across the street on Tryon or 29 and can't. It's challenging to do so. And same thing on University City Boulevard. I think we have to begin to articulate our challenges with NCDOT and continue to work with them to understand the importance of having that connectivity and mobility across these state-owned highways. Same thing with W.T. Harris. You know, they mentioned the numbers about the incidents. We've been tracking the number of incidents, car crashes, even fatalities. And I think we have to do a better job articulate the problems and challenges with NCDOT, and then the tools and strategies to impact that. And that will include slowing down traffic. I think we can take that on. We have a great board who understands that challenge, and hopefully we can work with the board to really get behind this cause and educate not just NCDOT, but the public on why we need to address slowing down traffic and providing the infrastructure for people to get across these state-owned highways and keep them maintained, keep them clean.
Oh, and Chair, the rezoning that you're referring to is the one by Cambridge Partners, which is directly across the street from the university, but it's also across 2 lanes of traffic, 2 turn lanes, and 2 light rail lines. So imagine trying to navigate that by foot.
I'm excited about that, and I can see we need some speed bumps on 49 is what I'm hearing.
Well, I don't know about speed bumps, Mr. Chair, but we have lots of other engineering solutions associated with safety improvements.
Speed bumps. Okay. Have we got any more questions from the commission? Keith, thank you very much for coming down. We're glad to know more about you. If there are things that we can do to help University City Partners be more successful, please reach out to us. And you know, Terry, Keith, Terry, et cetera. So, it's the card. Okay. I just do that because I have a whole bunch and I'm trying to get rid of them. I got you. And folks, again, these are wonderful organizations. Make sure you make connections, et cetera. Okay. Our last new business today is apparently some community area planning process has been going on. When did that start?
Listen,
You guys had any meetings or anything?
just 42.
No, that's that old Douglas Adams thing, isn't it? No, I'm sorry.
Just because I'm not a president and CEO
there.
doesn't mean you can't be nice.
Are you president and CEO of this adventure?
Not, but I'd appreciate some kindness.
For those of you who are just visiting this meeting, it's like this every month. I can't keep these people under control.
And we can't keep you on.
No one can.
For fun tomorrow morning, if you guys want to get up at 9 o'clock, right? Nope. South Park is having their stakeholders meeting over at Legion Brewery. And guess who's going to be talking? I'm going to hang out with them. It's going to be fun. I'm going to tell them that you guys sent me.
I'll start work at 10. I don't get up
Do you mean on Tuesday mornings?
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Legion Brewing?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready, Catherine?
I'm ready.
All right. We are on to our presentation on community area planning. It's a new thing.
All right. Well, thank you. I am Catherine Mahoney. I have been before you. I'm here again to share an update.
You looked
about-
familiar.
Yeah. I know it's been a few months, but not too long. For the sake of time, as always, I'll breeze through the overview slides and our engagement slides, and then spend the majority of the time talking about the outcomes of phase 2, which wrapped up mid-January. So we all know that the city's done a great job recently modernizing its toolbox of tools to manage growth that is coming to Charlotte. We also know that planning is iterative and you need multiple levels of guidance to manage growth. And so that's what community area planning is. It's that next iteration of planning. And you can see its relationship to the other initiatives that have and are underway right now. I'll point out that, like with development of the policy map, we are doing community area planning in coordination with the partners who are leading our SIA work and alignment rezoning. You've seen this before. This is our adopted planning framework within the comprehensive plan. And it really illustrates that the work done across divisions and departments is layered and interconnected, and when working together can provide both the community or the citywide and the community level guidance that's needed. So community area planning is that third tier of guidance. It will provide more detailed development guidance for growth and development. We're doing this work across the city in 2 years to be equitable and efficient. And the outcome is simply 14 plan documents and an updated 2040 policy map. I'm going to skip this slide because we talk about the different phases throughout the rest of the presentation, but you know that it is a 5-phase effort scheduled to be completed, well, the first 4 phases over 2 years. So throughout the 2 years, we are continuing to be equitable and inclusive. These are the standards that were established when we started the comprehensive plan and developed the policy map. We have 3 buckets of tactics: constant, coordinated, and collaborative, in order to be equitable and inclusive. In the middle, you see a slide or a screenshot of our engagement to date. The virtual tactics are the most successful. This is consistent with what we hear from all of our partners post-COVID. But you can see from the map on the right, the geographic dispersion of our in-person efforts, and also the quality of the conversations have been very robust. So phase 1 was focused on setting the stage, meaning identifying each geography's greatest needs, but their needs in terms of access to housing, jobs, and goods, and their need for reduced environmental impacts. Those are the cornerstones of how we talk about equity within the comprehensive plan. And so that is kind of the parameters that we put around this question of what is your greatest need for community area planning. And then phase 2 was focused on reviewing the place type designations within the adopted policy map to better address their needs for access, their increased access and reduced impacts. And so that's what we'll focus on today, is the outcome of phase 2 and that revised policy map. So this is a high level picture of the external and internal engagement that we conducted throughout phase 2, and then its impacts on the policy map. From the external engagement perspective, as you mentioned, we had 42 workshops across the city, and the focus of those workshops was to look at the map and look for opportunities to improve access and reduce impacts. We selected 3 focus areas for each geography that were emblematic of these challenges with access and impacts, and talked to the community about it. The conversations fell within 3 themes, bulleted here: balancing priorities, confirming the vision, and enhancing activity centers. We talked a lot about these themes last year. And so for the sake of time, I'm not going to dive into examples about these. I'll just remind you kind of what they were intended to tease out, and then the impacts on the map. So in terms of balancing priorities, these conversations focused on scenarios where 2 or more comprehensive plan goals are in conflict with one another at a particular site. Ultimately, the scenarios are complex and cannot be resolved with a mapping solution. And so there was very little, actually no change regarding this theme on the policy map. The second theme, confirming our vision, this focused on select place types like innovation, mixed use, and campus, which by design are intended to improve access over time. And so we shared that intent with the community, looked at the application on the map, and they verified that the application was appropriate. And in small instances or small areas, recommended a tweak to the designation or expansion of it. So there's some map change that came out of those conversations. And then the majority of our map change from the community was really revolved around or focused around our enhancing activity center conversation. So these conversations were looking at where centers are recommended, where maybe there may be a need for a new center, and what do we really need to do to make sure these centers function as desired over time. So ultimately, the 42 workshops with 42 focus area conversations. We also had an online map application, if you had a comment about an area outside of the focus area. All of those conversations resulted in about a 1% map change. So I would say from my perspective, these workshops affirmed that the citywide approach really was meeting the intent of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I'll just ask a question real quick. In a number of zoning cases we had a mismatch between what was on the ground and what used to be or things of that nature. Are those reflected in that 1%, or did you get feedback about that in that 1%? Or
Let me talk about the next.
okay, all right, yeah, all right, thank you.
So that's the external. It's really focused on changes that are aligned with vision. You know, it's a very technical process. It's responsibility of staff to hear about the needs from the community and then translate that technically, right? Internally, it's opposite. We worked with our partners to look at how we can improve the accuracy of the map. Okay, so you see the partners listed here. For Parks and Rec, they had a large acquisition since the map was adopted. All of their new sites are reflected within the revised policy map. So that's a big level of change. Corridors of Opportunity had been engaging just ahead of us, and so we made sure that their engagement was reflected in our revised map. At times we had a chance to kind of check or confirm what they heard through our workshops. We were able to extend coordination with Catawba Lands Conservancy, and their property that's held in perpetuity is now reflected as Park and Rec or Parks and Preserves on our map. What you're talking about is alignment rezoning. So that team on entitlement services, they reviewed every site, every parcel in the city, which is a huge effort. And they compared the place type designation with existing entitlements. And the goal, when there was a disconnect, it was to see if we couldn't change the place type to reflect existing entitlements. The objective of that is means you're basically not trying to down zone something. And so this internal effort, it was very successful and resulted in about a 5% map change. So I would say there's 5% accuracy or improved accuracy throughout the city.
Yeah, I mean, rezoning meeting last week, I think we had 4 that were like IMU switchamadoodles there or something. And they're just, those are little bitty. And so I wondered if they got captured.
They did, because a team of 3 people reviewed every single site in the city.
Well,
every parcel.
Tell them they get an A for the day and they can take tomorrow off.
I am truly indebted to them.
Okay.
I think they did a great job. They are
Douglas
some
said
unsung
it and it's
heroes.
okay.
I'm sorry?
Just say Douglas said it and it's okay. Thank you. All right.
Who? Douglas?
Thank you.
No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Catherine. You know, things are on my mind. They just come out, right?
I hear you. So I wanted to walk you guys through a particular site to really help illustrate some of these changes. And some of the examples that you are alluding to are represented here. So this is the adopted map is on the left and the revised map is on the right. We are at the intersection of Central Avenue and Kilbourne. This large green is the Evergreen Cemetery. It's a city cemetery. And I'm going to walk you through these numbers. They represent the types of external and internal engagement that I just talked about at a high level on the last slide. So the first site, 1 down here in the corner, this is Eastway Middle School, and it was previously mapped as campus. If you attended some of the workshops, you learned that there was a disconnect between the campus place type and the campus zoning districts that we identified internally and worked towards a 2-part solution that we brought to residents. We said there should be some slight mapping change and there should be some revisions to the campus districts. So this reflects that coordination, that message that we shared with the community, and then the technical coordination internally. So it'll now be shown as N1. If you go up to the intersection 2A, this is, there's a CVS at the corner, some small restaurants, little mini mart kind of thing, a bakery, a well-known bakery. This area, I think, is representative of the enhancing our activity centers conversations that we had with the community. So during policy map development, there was a lot of commercial that came out as a result of the citywide approach. We heard from the community they wanted some of that commercial to be elevated to a neighborhood activity center. And at that time, we developed criteria, because you can't do it wholesale, right? We have a finite pie that can be allocated. And so the criteria that we developed at a citywide level was nodal, so small concentrations of commercial surrounded by neighborhoods and located on local streets could and should be elevated to neighborhood activity center. Through this work, we were able to take a closer look at what was left as commercial and see if there were any other commonalities that would kind of make sense for additional commercial to go to neighborhood activity center. And in this example, the criteria that we revealed is that proximity on local roads, planned transit, and planned trails should also qualify an area for going from commercial to center. And so this area is on the future gold line and therefore was elevated from commercial to NAC. The area outlined in 2B gets to what you were talking about, Commissioner, about the entitlements. So we were, again, very selective about elevating commercial to NAC and try to keep it nodal, but you can see the area outlined in 2B, that was already zoned neighborhood services. And so that's a direct translation to NAC. And so in that case, we were able to expand the designation down Norland. I'm going to jump to 3A because it's a similar condition, and then I'll come back to 3B. 3A, it is an existing single-family neighborhood within 2 entitlements. And so it was previously mapped neighborhood 2, but we hold very strongly the preservation of neighborhoods in this map. And so that, in that instance, the neighborhood was reclassified to neighborhood 1. And so that is a misalignment with the entitlements, but a better alignment with the vision of what we're trying to do citywide. Let's jump down to 3B. These are 4 single-family homes, larger lots across from what is now recommended to become a neighborhood activity center. It is understandable that those lots there might be an interest in it evolving over time. However, we did not want to preemptively upgrade or recommend a new future for a lot of sites. Again, the goal is to protect neighborhoods, but what do you do when you know change is coming? So we have published, or we will be publishing, a policy map manual tomorrow with the revised policy map. This manual outlines what the map is, how it's intended to be used, and how it can and should change over time in line with the vision of the comprehensive plan. So there will be criteria that says neighborhood 1 may and could evolve over time to X or Y if certain conditions are met. And so that manual will be coming out, and I would encourage you all to spend some time with it tomorrow. The last type of change this is a religious institution. It was previously mapped as commercial because of its entitlements. But through that coordination with our alignment rezoning team, this is an example of an edge condition where religious institutions can be absorbed into surrounding place types. It shouldn't be called out as a separate place type based on its zoning. And so it went from commercial to N2. So this is kind of, this level of change in one location is the exception. These types of changes are more scattered throughout the corridors around the edges of our centers and intermittently in neighborhoods. I just chose this site because I felt like it gave you a good flavor of all that was happening across the map. So in terms of next steps, tomorrow, because of council press release, blah, 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 on the website, there will be this information. You can visit the revised policy map. Sites that are revised are highlighted in yellow. You can click on it and see what it was and what it's being proposed as. That policy map manual will be published. You can provide comments on that. That is really an instruction of what we've done. And so there's less discussion about how it was done. But if you have questions and perhaps suggestions for the future, those would be welcomed. So I just kind of want to, manage expectations there. That's not eligible for a rewrite. And then staff responses to comments received in phase 2 will be published on the website. Let me find my down arrow. So once the map is published tomorrow, there will be a 90-day public comment period. You can comment on it the same way we've done in the last 2 iterations with that online application. You can send us an email. We'll be at in-person events. You can visit us there, ask questions. We'll have hard copies at all the libraries. And then again, as we did with the policy map during its first iteration, we will have second and third drafts published at future phases of this effort. So the second draft of the revised manual of the revised map will come out with our fall workshops. And then the third draft will come out with the draft plans early next year. So that is an overview of what happened in phase 2 and its outcomes. And now we are moving into phase 3. And so for phase 3, we are having a youth event this week. It's with Generation Nation. We've been engaging with them throughout the last few years. And we are basically kind of sharing information about what planning is, what our work is aimed at accomplishing, and getting feedback from them. We're going to be at a series of pop-up events throughout the spring to promote the new map and encourage people to provide feedback on it. I think we're trying to attend South Park's symphony events and a university kids event. So we're continuing coordination there. This summer, we're going to host a series of focus groups and some City of Charlotte staff workshops as different engagement tactics to collect feedback. And then in the fall, we'll host those public workshops, which we shared information about last year. But again, just as a reminder, there will be 4 in-person, 4 virtual workshops throughout the cardinal geographies. The objective is to share information about known projects and collect input on needed projects and programs. And so the workshops will be divided into stations: mobility, sustainability, open space, public services, and community character. And then this is a little preview of the draft documents. So we'll have one program guide, which gives you an idea of how area plans relate to the policy map and the comprehensive plan. And then each of the 14 geographies will have their own document, which really lines up with the phases of our work. So you'll begin with community profile, who lives here, what are your greatest needs. Then we'll highlight the place type changes within the policy map, provide a list of projects that are planned and needed, and then finally an implementation strategy. So we encourage you all to check out the map, the manual, let others know about these outcomes. And then if you want to continue to encourage people to share images that we can use to include in the plans, that would be great. And then I had one other announcement. Applications for the Planning Academy, which many of you are aware of. We're doing a boot camp version of it this year. And so applications for that, it's a one-day academy, are open. When do they close? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure you don't want to stay with us, Yolanda?
That's all I have.
Thank you, Catherine. Do we have any questions, Commissioner Russell? See you guys tomorrow morning. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So if you'll indulge me for a little bit, I want to do a little bit of level set before I get to a question. So one of the things that we hear a lot from planning staff is about typology. And I think we've seen a lot of that in your presentation about how places look. How do people interact with it? How is it built? What does the environment become? But, and that's important. But the other part of how typology exists and where it comes from really comes from the economics. And that economics really comes in 2 phases. That one being the development side, where the money has to be there in order for it to get developed. And then the second part becomes the economic development as the result of that investment. What comes out of it? Jobs, community improvements, so on and so forth. So the typology is really driven by the economics of everything. What I didn't see in your presentation was the economic side or the economic data that is working to the typology, right? So for instance, you made a point earlier about, hey, we have a community, if it's an N1A, over time it's going to change, but we don't know how it's going to change. Well, the economics will tell you how that's going to change. And so that's kind of the level set there. So my question is, how are you addressing the economic side of how things get built, where they get built, and then magnify that through to the community benefit at the end? Because I didn't really see a lot of that. I saw a lot of the typology, but I didn't see, which is the result, but I didn't see the economics, which drives the typology.
I mean, what you're talking about, the economics being informed or informing the typology, is part of the analysis that was done at a citywide level and is baked into the citywide mapping approach. Like, we have That's part of the infrastructure and environment capacity analysis that we did, as well as a market suitability that was done during the citywide development. And then, but to your point, I don't think we probably do a good enough job of highlighting the economic impacts of the vision beyond the more tangible things where we say these centers will be walkable and vibrant. Perhaps I guess we do talk about increased jobs and housing opportunity, but we use it we talk about it in a more layman way. But I see you. We could probably highlight the real economics of it better.
Yeah, and then the other thought is that even looking at the place type, it would probably make some sense to kind of pencil through, okay, I have this constraint as a place type or even as a zoning district, then take that and run it through. Does it make sense economically for you to build based on that construct? And that is how you get to the economics of whether or not the typology that you're looking for is going to actually exist in real life, or if there's a mismatch in the economy versus what you're trying to plan. So that, I think that type of analysis would be beneficial as well.
It is baked into that minor map or the policy manual, the economics, the idea of what will change and when, like that is based, the criteria for what should change is in part informed by what's realistic. I don't have the exact numbers. Like, how do I explain this?
Is that President and CEO Kathy Cornett is now joining me?
President.
That'd be nice. Kathy Cornett, planning staff. I think that, those are obviously the economics is part, and as Catherine very rightfully said, it is baked into the methodology. But I think that to the level of detail that you're talking about, not to that granular level, because really this is implementing kind of a framework citywide. So the comprehensive plan can't solve all problems. It serves as a framework, and there are goals around access to jobs and economic growth and all of those issues and items, but not down to the level of if you do this, if this happens here in 5 years, the market, that's where the market will be. I don't think we have a crystal ball to know those things, nor do I think that's really what the overall goal of access to jobs and goods and services and the growth of our community isn't just about that market feasibility piece of it, if that makes sense.
Right. I'm push back just a little bit. I'm not asking for like the market, like a detailed market, sub-market study. What I am looking for is like an overall very broad that says a campus place type doesn't work. Does a N2 work in concept based on what you're seeing in developing into neighborhoods or in neighborhoods that are transitioning from N1 to N2 based on the criteria that are set in the UDO or in the 2040 plan. So I think that could be done at a very high level. I'm not saying that it needs to be to the penny, but does the construct make sense? And then when you run some economics through it, are you going to get that? Or are you going to get something not that?
Gotcha. So you're really looking too for more of a link than more of a direct link analysis wise between the policy and the regulatory piece?
That's correct.
Okay. I understand.
I will say that as part of the Alicia Osborne planning staff, it's like a 3-man tag team here. But I will say that as part of the 3-woman, I stand corrected. A 3-woman tag team.
I don't know, but I'm going to go.
Yep. I appreciate it, that correction. I will say that as part of the comprehensive plan, there was a change analysis that was done for all the typologies within the place types. So our consultant economic advisors did take into account, if we are to change from this place type to this place type, how do the economics play into that? And in those high growth areas, what do they look like? Because again, we're establishing the framework for 300,000 plus parcels. So we have to be very intentional and strategic about the areas that we focused in. So they did those particularly for like activity centers, kind of the high growth areas and the place types surrounding those, to see what those impacts would be and did they make sense. The result of that was a kind of two things. One, we have a place type typology kind of playbook that shows what types of adjacencies make sense when you're talking about transitions between place types and if one place type is going to another. So we have that. I don't know if it's in the manual that will be coming out that has that kind of guidance. And it's all informed by not just land use, but zoning and economics. It's all baked into the methodology of creating that kind of transition or place type, what do we call it, type transition analysis. I think that's
Like
what it's called.
Look, kind of like the pattern book. I
Yes,
think
a
that
pattern book.
A
That's
lot
what it is.
of what you're looking for, you will probably find in the place type, in the policy manual. That's the companion piece that's being released with a revised policy map. And then if not, certainly we can have some other conversations about it.
It's in there. In other words.
Thank you.
But not to the site. I know you're talking about the site part. That will have to come. You have to think about all the layers of planning that Catherine talked about. This is kind of that high level framework. You have projects like corridors that gets really specific about a geography and does that kind of analysis, bring the development community together. That's why it's important for all levels of planning to work together so it can get that level of specificity, but also provide that overarching framework.
Good. If there's something to print out that Will can drive around with in the back of his car, we're just excited about that. I would like to get a question in here. When Catherine was going through the example over Kilburn Central, I just thought, okay, if I knew that area, I could put in comments about all of that, right? And it's like, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the part of town that I know the area, right? And I hope that all of us here around the table will do the same thing, comma, that's not going to get us through 300,000 parcels. So I'm wondering, how are you guys going to get what's the plan for getting the most comprehensive feedback from the community? And I know we're going to go through several iterations of this, but it just, I think we can save ourselves a lot of trouble in the future if we get a good feedback during these iterations. And I'm sure you guys have a plan, but I just,
Yeah.
how
The
are
plan
we
is
going?
playing out. So we did the first map, and we did it citywide, and we had 3 rounds of feedback, and we collected. Now I'm missing my numbers. About.
I know I made maybe like 5 comments or something, right?
You weren't alone. You weren't the only one, though.
Okay, yeah.
I'm getting the numbers wrong, but proportionally, say we received like 2,000 comments during those 3 drafts. We have already received a comparable number of comments, both externally and internally, on this revised map, and it's just the first iteration. So my point is that if you think about the first map plus this revision, the entire city has been looked at very thoroughly by a number of stakeholders, internally and externally. And I'm growing more and more confident that this map is in good order. So I actually don't think we should receive tons of comments. I think what's out there, people say, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. I mean, I have nothing in here says I shouldn't take your word for it. It just was my first reaction was, I have referred to members of this commission as nerds, and I know that some folks up here, and we won't say Will's name because he's not in the room, will take a lot of time with a specific area and give you guys some comments.
Totally welcome if you want to nerd out. Like we are happy. and as a reminder, what we did with the first iteration of the map development, we collected comments to get an idea of how we should enhance the methodology. But then after that methodology was set, we processed comments based on its consistency with the methodology.
Okay.
And we were very clear, it is or is not aligned with the methodology. And we'll do the same thing here. We'll be able to say, yes, your comment is in alignment and can be processed, or no, for these reasons.
Okay. All right.
I understand.
It will be an ongoing discussion, and I'm happy to see that it's multiple iterations. And I'm saying to each one of the commissioners, get nerdy, people, right? Okay. Thank you, ladies. You guys are really a lovely three-headed monster that just kind of comes in, and when we have questions, it's kind of nice to watch you all work together on that. We got a few things left we got to cover. Yeah, I sent you guys homework for next month in an email this morning. It just got left off the agenda, and it was can we say it was baby brain, Candace? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly,
that's it.
That. Coming
Did you
back,
guys see
coming
how
back.
Candace spelled their baby's name? Douglas is not spelled that way. Anyway, and now before we wrap up, we're going to go around and do each commissioner just give us a report on some of the things that you've done in the community this month. And we're going to start all the way to the left with Commissioner Harvey. You got anything? Okay. Melissa?
No new updates.
Okay.
Just a couple of things. Most of what I've been doing is just leaning in on the whole NCDOT rail station and having several lunches and meetings around that, and kind of culminating with the announcement that they are not planning to take, and this is in the Gold District, that they're not planning to take any land beyond what they already have. And then I wanted to just bring to everyone's attention 2 weeks from today, on the 25th at 5 p.m. at the Pritchard Memorial Church on South Boulevard, NCDOT is having an open house about that project. So anybody that has any interest would like to attend that. And if you forget that, obviously feel free to just email me and I can loop you back in. But that is something that I will definitely be at, and I think would be worthwhile for everyone here.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Blumenthal. Commissioner Russell, you were out of the room and people talked about you savagely, but I defended you.
I know you did because you're a great friend. and
Yeah, that's
you cannot
it.
trust all the people sitting around this.
Not
dais.
in the least. But did you have any community activities you wanted to let us know about this?
Yes, I did. I had the pleasure of meeting a couple of wonderful people down on the Gillespie rezoning and got to meet the Eagles, Piper and Glenn. Fascinating. And did some just various rezoning work around my neighborhood.
All right. Thanks, sir.
And
oops.
And I brought my UDO just so you can see,
Yeah.
you hear all about it.
I look forward to seeing you with your planned, what is it called? The community area planning policy map manual. Man, that's exciting.
That too will reside in the back of my truck.
Okay. Commissioner McDonald is here with us after a long trip to another country on the other side of the planet. But did you do any community engagement this month?
Well, since I was away for a lot of February, I'm going to just mention that in January, I did attend the city budget process kickoff community event at Camp North End, and plan to hop back into the rest of that as well as the county budget.
Cool beans.
That's it.
Commissioner Neely?
Yes, so I had the opportunity as well to visit with several community area, Piper and Glenn. I met the Eagles, and more people interested in what's going on as far as the zoning process is concerned. So.
Commissioner Wilden?
Yes. So I did the new social district walkthrough. Fabulous. Wonderful.
Did you dress as a cup as well?
No, but I did ask if I could wear it for Halloween. And Philip said yes. So, and then I have been talking with the Belmont Land Use Committee because I'd started noticing that they were providing a lot of comments for rezonings in their area. So I just thought that I'd reach out to try to be a connection for them. And then I'm planning on attending the virtual budget listening session on the 20th at, I think it's at 11:30 a.m.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Winokur.
Two things. One, real quickly, remember when our friends from the Charlotte Fire Department were here and talked about their big red shiny trucks, and they need bigger, wider roads to fit their big red shiny trucks.
To get bigger trucks.
The city of Los Angeles recently overwhelmingly passed a municipal referendum to increase bike lanes and pedestrian access. the firefighters union ran a funded campaign strongly against it, saying that it would increase their travel times, which is what we hear from our friends at CDOT, where the fire department will try to list that as a reason not to have safe streets. Many of us immediately pounced on the concept of, have you thought about smaller trucks? To which the answer at that meeting was no. But today, or in the last couple of days, after that resolution passed in the plus 60s, defeating it, the Los Angeles Fire Department has now released pictures of a brand new electric bus. But it looks like a city bus. It has independent turns, so it can fit into smaller areas. It seemed like a terrifically perfect solution for what our friends here in Charlotte might, need, instead of changing the built environment to make it more dangerous. And so I thought that was an interesting development. And look on Twitter. I have it posted there. The other thing is, has been meetings. They've been sort of hyper local-ish recently, but I've been able to attend meetings with the Elizabeth Community Transportation Committee, where they have meetings with CDOT, meetings with other neighborhood leaders, and some politicos around Plaza Midwood, because that's going to be the height of a bunch of development and new development. And so right now, it's described by the Charlotte Department of Transportation streets map as essentially, my words, not theirs, a cut-through street, whatever, collector street, I think is what they call it, right? So it's Plaza Midwood has lovely, nice, old little single-story buildings that are cute, that may or may not exist there in the next 5, 10, 20 years. What else will it be other than a cut-through? And I think that question applies to a lot of our neighborhoods, areas that we want to see. They talk about walkable, vibrant, pedestrian safe activities. It seems to me, though, that there is a great deal of difficulty in this city, and has been for a long time, with trying to communicate that to CDOT in an effective way. CDOT's hands are tied because they have an incredibly small fraction of the budget. They should have much more. But also, like our friends on the zoning committee, there's also seems to be a bit of reluctance. And that's what I'm picking up on. And I wanted to say that out loud. So the question then becomes, is it CDOT, are they trying to lead the way with making safer streets, at least in designs, and disclosing what their plans are for our neighborhoods? Allowing the public to have some kind of a feedback? Or will it be, as they say sometimes during committee meetings or city council meetings, what they deem to be appropriate and what they deem to not be appropriate? There are new, I had sent some images just as we were during this meeting, and I'll share them maybe later. But, the new, what is it, MUTCD handbook or whatever? What's that called, Terry?
MUTCD.
Yeah, MUTCD. Is, has some lovely pictures of what they, the phrases include daylighting intersections, like out, we were talking about University City or crossing Fairview to go across South Park. I mean, it takes 1.5 years to walk across that intersection. I can't take my 80-plus-year-old mom, I can't park in one place and take her around to places in South Park without, crossing acres and acres of huge multi-lane roads. That's Charlotte. And I think that we all want to see, when we talk about place types and what's the future of Charlotte, transportation seems to be the real nut that we need to crack. And there have been lots of talk, lots of meetings, lots of plans about it. But I want to say, as a member of the community, I feel some frustration about that.
Commissioner Seelan? While he was talking, I managed to forget everything I was going to say. However, one of the things that I did do just a few weeks back is I took a tour of CAT's maintenance facility.
with Charlotte Urbanists and pinned some opinions on it, on what I found, what I think we could learn. And that's resulted in, I have a meeting with Brent Cagle, the CEO of CATS, the interim CEO of CATS, to go over my findings. And I also intend to speak with members of City Council and to try to organize a similar tour to what I had with this body, of course, in groups, as well as City Council, as well as County Commission. I think there is a wealth of information to learn on that tour that is pertinent to the job of being a City Council person. I just learned so much, and I think there's a lot of things that we could be doing better from a transit perspective in the city. And boy, were they evident when I took that tour, which is why all of us need to take that tour. Also participated in a lot of what just safe roads, talking about safe roads with different stakeholders in the community. And also went to the open house for the social district. So, and got to learn about the process of what it took to get that across the table as I look into that for my own neighborhood.
Did you get to dress as a cop?
I did not get to dress as the cup. I tried though. And I
The Halloween meeting here is going to be spectacular.
cannot wait.
Commissioner Lansdale.
Well, Clayton, did they take you on the bus maintenance division parking deck that you can't park on?
No.
Ah, great. Okay. Yeah.
No, but they did take me to the storage yard where all the streetcar parts are just out in the open.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic that's happened over the past decade in how we maintain and operate our light rail vehicles, for sure. For me, this past month, I attended the CRTPO meeting, the joint meeting between the CRTPO and the Gaston Lincoln Kings Mountain Planning Organization. We also attended I also attended the City Council's Transportation Planning Division committee meetings, and found it interesting that one of our council members wanted to say it was okay to not have a vision 0, but maybe a vision 1 or 2 or 10 or 12 or whatever the case may be, and to try to change a federally mandated policy here locally, that it wouldn't be so bad if we did a vision less than 0 or more than 0. Interesting dynamic, but you should if you have some time to spend on those meetings, they're pretty interesting. And I try not to allow my facial expressions to be too forward on those as well.
You failed.
That's right.
I watched the meeting and Commissioner Lansdale was representing for us, but I'm saying you could see something on Terry's face on TV.
I'm sorry, I have expressive eyebrows. I also attended the NCDOT Board of Transportation Finance Committee meeting. If you really want to see the impact of what we do at the state level, goodness gracious, lots of issues there that are associated with opposition to some of the work that we're doing here at the local level as well. There are, as always, there are bills that are going to be passed at the General Assembly in a long session. We have a short session coming up. I will take this moment to compliment staff, Allison especially, for her leadership and taking some of my suggestions about how we incorporate state law into the work we're doing here locally. I think it's important that we continue to have that filter and making sure that we're not doing work now that has to be redone in a couple of months or whatever the case is. And we're really using staff's vision and guidance and managing that. I just wish that we as a community, the City Council, County Commission, would activate and empower our legislative representatives to do more in representing us at the state level and not acquiescing to a single opinion or two in a leadership role. I'll leave it at that, but thank you very much on transportation.
Thank you, Commissioner Lansdale. And by the way, did all of you know that Commissioner Lansdale was running for office in the election we had last week? And how'd that work out?
It was exactly the plan. It was a wonderful opportunity for me to drop my name into a hat in a primary that had incredible assets for the Democratic Party and for the community as we take our issues to the state level. And the entire slate for the primary and for all the candidates who ran in the primary and who will run again in November, I think it's a great opportunity for we as a community to support people who represent us here in the state General Assembly. And I urge you all to vote and bring somebody else to vote in the primary and the general election in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And Robin, your turn.
I'll be very quick. No report this month. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Cool beans. I'll tell you some of the stuff that happened on this side last month for me. Tomorrow morning at 9 at Legion Brewery, South Park Community Partners is having a stakeholders meeting, and I'm chatting at that meeting. So Lord only knows what will come out of my mouth at that hour of the day. Last week, the Land Development Council for the home builders of Greater Home Builders of Charlotte area, something like that, had a meeting, and I got to talk to them, and that was very interesting to get feedback from them as well. There's some things a brewing down in Steel Creek related to N1A development, and I have had several meetings with folks from down there and also with the county commission in regard to how that project needs to go forward or not go forward. If you have not watched last week's, was it last week's transportation meeting? There's like the committee meetings for city council. Please watch that meeting because Allison gave a presentation about how we're going to possibly deal with some things going forward. That was the meeting where Terry's eyebrows were very expressive. And I will just say that we need to pay attention to that. Allison and Monica talked to us last month about how they want to deal with some of the unintended consequences, that unintended uses of the UDO. So please go out and watch that meeting. Public hearing on Commonwealth project that's where Legion Brewery is, et cetera, et cetera. Rick was on that call. Were you on that call? No? Okay, Rick was on the call. Who else was on there with us? Local neighborhood leaders. Okay. Commissioner Winokur and I had also had some conversations about a rezoning that was near the library, and we wanted some better interfaces between the cycle track and 6th Street. We got somewhere. Perhaps didn't get all the places that we wanted to go, but I think we do have a better solution than what we did when they originally proposed that. So that's a good thing. And I think that pretty much shoots it for me for the last month, Commissioner.
I remembered one of my things.
Well, please tell us. We will not be able to sleep without that.
I participated on a call with South Charlotte leaders around the Kuykendall rezoning that's coming up across from Charlotte Latin. And,
yeah, and I was on a call with them as well. I forgot about that. That was exciting.
Yeah, it kind of informed some opinions for me with N2 and also.
Yeah, interesting approach.
And
Yes,
just
sir.
one more quick thing, Allison, thank you very much for the continued invitations to the UDO Advisory Committee meetings. I'm happy to just sit there in the background, but it's very informative to hear everything going on. So thank you again.
Yeah. There's active discussions around possible alterations to the UDO and text amendments that are coming forward. So those of you on zoning, probably just keep your ears up on that one. Allison's got one more and then we'll close.
Just real quick, I just wanted to mention too, if you want to learn more after watching the TPD meeting and even the UAC meeting, I will be going further into what some of the recommendations are at action review for council on March the 25th. So,
Okay.
At the meeting that night?
At the meeting that night, or
I know the action review that's before the business meeting. Yeah.
it's like 4 o'clock or something?
5.
5? Okay. I think that's just about it, folks. Next month, we will have Jep Pond in from AIA. It's the Architects Institute of America or something like that. American Institute of Architects, that thing. But Geb's the homework that I sent you was on digital twins. And this is not, these are not, it's not like the Barbie twins or anything. This is on actually how you build a representation of a city inside your computer and why it makes things gooder. and that's a technical term. So, I mean, and I'm excited about this because we were on the phone the other day and he was talking about how he wanted to do that and some augmented reality demonstrations for us. So this ought to be, it's like show and tell, I'm thinking. So we will, yes, ma'am.
I can send that link out after the meeting along with presentations.
Okay, I sent the link, but you can resend it. Yeah. Yeah, please resend it because when it comes from me, they think it's like 8 million pages of something. Everyone, do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to close.
Thank
Wilden.
you.
Real
That Wilden
quickly,
is really sharp.
April
One more.
meeting is on Tuesday.
April meeting is on Tuesday, the 9th, because there's a solar eclipse on Monday, the 8th.
Yes.
Wonder who's going to that. All right.
All right, get out of here, people.
Where are you going?
I'm going to try and get up to Columbus, Ohio. And
How do I stop streaming?
Good job. Yeah.
How do I stop